Hello and welcome to episode 34 of Rival Banter. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Croft. Joining me, as always, my esteemed co host, the Joker, the Smoker, and let me check my notes here. Yes, the Midnight Toker himself, ladies and gentlemen, Seth Martin.
You knew the words the whole time, you son of a bitch.
I didn't have it written down. You called out my lie. And I'd like to apologize for that right up front because I feel
Yes.
like a healthy relationship is built on honesty, and I feel like I just broke your trust.
Yeah, speak to the people.
Yeah, so sorry about that. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm just tired, getting in the swing of things. We had a busy weekend to say the least, together. But we'll get to that stuff later on. I'm still kind of catching up and getting back in the swing of things, get ready for school. But yeah, looking forward to the show.
Nice. Yeah, I took yesterday off, which was nice, but I've been getting caught up today with everything that came in over the weekend and stuff. So I am right there with you, except I don't have to deal with like a bunch of old children.
Old children.
That's what they call the teenagers nowadays, I believe. So
Makes sense.
Um, but this is Rival Banter, and we get together every single week over here and talk about all things Marvel Rivals, then push it out to you on podcast services and YouTube. Just search up Rival Banter. Um, excuse me. If you want to, you can follow us on social media as well at Rival Banter on TikTok and Instagram. We are also now on Blue Sky at Rival Banter, plus whatever the little link stuff you have to have is. But wherever you're listening to us, we appreciate you. We thank you and we love you. Make sure you're following us, commenting, and liking on things. And if you comment, we might read your comment and react to it like are about to do to some of these comments in here. And I'll kick us off here. Seth Aiden Heat has a little bit of stuff for us to unpack here. So we'll take it chunk by chunk. He says, when it comes to the toxicity of the community, do you guys think there is any real solution? And are we aware of netties ever addressing these issues in the past? Do y'all have any ideas that come to mind? It's become one of those things where it seems like you can't do anything about it, but even a slight decrease in toxicity would be a massive amount of relief. Thoughts on that, Seth?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like they have. Has it been addressed?
I mean, they've definitely added some stuff to try to help. They added like voice chat monitoring and quicker. I think they use like AI assisted voice chat monitoring now as well.
Hmm,
They have
hmm.
like the custom blocked words list that you can put in your
Yeah, that's
chat
true. So,
settings.
so they've added features. I just don't know if they've ever like really come out and straight up said, "Don't be a dick to other humans." But
Well,
but
I mean, in the like the ranked explainer video, they kind of did a little bit of that sort of stuff where like winning is not just about your comp or the matchmaking. It's also about your ability to work together and that sort of thing. Um,
yeah,
but I don't know. Do you think if they came out and were like, "You guys should stop being dicks to each other," would it like move the needle at all?
I don't think so. I mean, dicks gonna be dicks. That's just how. That's just the way of the world, as somebody once said. But yeah, I don't think that like it's explicitly been said. Definitely not in those terms, but I don't know that it's ever been like officially decried. But yeah, I do agree that they have um pretty consistently over time added various features like the voice changer, voice monitoring, stuff like that, just to kind of keep tabs and make sure that I mean, it's not really making sure that people have the best experience possible, but those are some kind of mitigating responses, I guess, that are there.
Yeah, I mostly help limit toxicity just by kind of setting up the environment that I want to play in, right? Like we don't really join team chat or anything like that. There's times where I'll go and I'll turn chat off myself just because regardless of enforcement or policies or, moderation tools that they add, there's always going to be people that are in the game that are jerks, and whether that's somebody who's just consistently like that or somebody that's having a bad day, I think it's just part of online gaming. But I will say this: I think the more frustrating part is the toxicity that turns into just like feeding and throwing that we often see in rivals. Where if like somebody doesn't get the character that they want, it's not that they're being a dick in chat; it's that they're like sabotaging the team by just playing a fifth DPS or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and some of that I think is trackable and manageable too. Because like my story from a couple weeks ago, I never really saw any consequences from being reported because I didn't really do anything. And I'm guessing whatever kind of whether it was an individual or whether it was some kind of AI that was reviewing the situation or whatever. I'm sure it seems like they determined that nothing was going on. So, um, I think. I don't know, there's some confidence in that, but yeah, I do think that you kind of do have to approach play with the mindset that you're going to run into people that just aren't the kind of people that need to be out there playing the game, and but they're going to be there anyway, right? So we've got to kind of just learn to just brush it off, not let it ruin your mood, ruin your day, or ruin the game for you. Because again, like there's a reason that you're still playing Marvel Rivals after all this time. It's not because of the dicks; it's because of just the fun, like the kind of positive experiences that you've had. So some of that's filtering it out, and I do like again like the fact that you can. I don't even know how to turn voice chat on, outside of like just opening up a PlayStation party or jumping into Discord. I've never done it. Never been tempted to do it. Larry, when he's playing on PC and he's with us in Discord, it sounds like pure hell. I don't know why he plays that game with us because he hears us in Discord, but he also hears the voice chat at all times, and so
To
he's
be
like
fair,
constantly.
Larry kind of thrives in that environment.
Yeah, and that's his that's his prerogative, but it sounds terrible to me because again,
Hmm.
like I choose just not even to acknowledge the existence of that feature, and him describing some of the things that he hears to us just sounds god awful to me.
And I think the solution really lies on kind of the community side, where it's just like calling out that behavior when you see it, continuing to talk about this being an issue in our community. And here's the other thing, man. Liberally use that report button. I report people constantly in this game, and every now and
Hmm.
again it'll pop and it'll tell me that some action's been taken. Also, people just get like chat muted after a certain amount of reports and stuff like that too. So if you're seeing stuff in game that is making like the experience negative for you, odds are they're making that experience negative for a lot of other people, and it goes a long way to just report them, and hopefully one
Yeah,
day will come along and the reckoning will be here.
I've had kids clown me at school when they see it. They'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm reporting this bozo." What, really, you snitching? And I'm like, yeah, I'm snitching. I want this game to be fun, and not ruin my mood for the day or anything like that. So the more I think actively that you do that, I mean, bully the bullies. It's not like there's a whole lot you can do to respond other than reporting them and then making sure your voice is heard. And then eventually, I would assume if the person has a brain in their skull, they're going to get tired of being constantly banned and they're going to leave that community. So that's again maybe a perfect world scenario, but I think there's some merit to it.
Hmm. For sure. They also asked, do you guys prefer the shorter or longer seasons? Thanks for responding to these. It's great. Keep up what you're doing. So, Seth, we've had this kind of content cadence now for the last couple seasons. And so I think we can finally compare and contrast it to what we were experiencing before. Which do you prefer?
My answer is gonna. This is such a me answer. I feel like, but my answer falls in the middle. I did think that the previous seasons, the original season model ran a little long, and I love getting new characters at a pretty constant cadence. But I do like it. Kind of just it it disencourages me from playing or disincentivizes something like that. One of those words, me from playing competitive or really grinding competitive because I know that my whole rank's going to be reset. I'm going to be bumped down so many levels just in a few weeks' time, which really like for me on a limited time frame kind of defeats the purpose of even starting or trying, right? On top of that, I don't know. It's like, again, like I get so behind if I don't just start immediately grinding that comp season that if you wait a week, you've already blown like what, an eighth of your time, which doesn't sound like a lot, I guess, but it really, when you're looking at just a 2 month season, it's not a lot of time to really grind and get up, especially if you're starting from bronze.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I would like maybe an extra week or something like that. I don't know how that would change up the mathematics or whatever, but it's just a little bit more time. I don't think we've quite found that sweet spot yet, but I definitely don't want it to go much longer.
Hmm. I think that the current setup is perfect for Marvel Rivals streamers. Guys that are just dedicating 8 hours a day to playing the game, and all the content and the rank grind and all of that sort of thing. And I feel like I play the game pretty regularly too, and I don't have too tough a time like keeping up with the events and unlocking stuff. But I imagine if I took just even a little bit more time off the game, I would be really kind of hit with the FOMO of some of these events, right? And so I I wish that Marvel respected my time a little bit more, in the sense like you're saying, of where it's like I'm not really feeling super invested in my like Marvel Rivals like experience that spans multiple seasons, because I might grind to a certain rank and then I'm reset and I have to start that climb all the way back over. There's no placement matches, that sort of thing. So I kind of prefer the longer seasons. I think we're kind of seeing this with the diminishing number of like new people that come back at the start of each season too. That I think the game's changing so often that it changing with a new character or whatever doesn't feel that like momentous.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that too.
Like, when's the last time you felt like people were really excited about the new character that was dropping? You know?
I mean, I think there was a lot of excitement about Blade.
Hmm.
I don't feel like Blade changed everybody's world the way. I don't think he quite matched the hype, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I haven't been like thrilled about the idea of characters since like that original Fantastic Four drop. But I think some of that might be changing here soon. As soon as we start, we just need those kind of season 5 reveals to finally come out and be official to maybe
Yeah,
get me a little bit more pumped.
and I know for sure that stuff's probably going to hit tomorrow, so we won't be obviously talking about it tonight. But I'm sure we're about to get a ton of information on season 5. Um, but yeah, I also think like when you have these constant resets too, even us psychologically for a little bit are kind of like, we're going to stay away from ranked while the meta kind of figures itself out, or while people stop insta locking the new character, or whatever. And so it kind of eats into that time that's already much shorter because of the way that the seasons are. Because you have so many people who are just kind of feel a little jaded at the start of a season, because everybody's just going to either be gunning for the new character or throwing if they don't get the new character, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I also wonder too, like, and maybe it doesn't make any sense, but maybe it does. Does the competitive season have to match up with the battle pass season, or is that just kind of like an easy
I think it's just an easy
solution?
break
I
point.
want,
Yeah.
yeah, like I wonder if there's like if it would be feasible to kind of stagger that, which again, like Fortnite kind of does it where they run multiple different kinds of battle passes at the same time. I wonder if it's like how much sense it would make to just kind of offset those things a little bit, and maybe that would kind of solve multiple problems in one go. But I don't know.
I mean, I think about like the league structure, right? Where it's like a competitive season is one full calendar year, basically. And they're still launching new characters every couple months into the game, and they're patching the game and rebalancing characters, and the meta evolves throughout the year and stuff like that. And so I think this idea that like we need to have some sort of ranked measure for each new balance patch, basically, like major balance patch, I think is kind of misguided. I'm with you. Like if they did like a 6 month competitive season that was broken into 3 battle passes, because you're doing one every 2 months, think that could definitely work and kind of alleviate some of that stress. I do wonder how top heavy ranks would get if given that much time to climb. They definitely have to do some stuff with like the way the math works for wins and losses to just avoid a bunch of people being in like masters or whatever.
For sure.
Uh, Elena responded on TikTok to us talking about removing anchor bonuses from team ups and says the dumb thing about the anchor bonus is that when the team up is removed, they just add it back into their normal stuff. I would also feel better about it if it was more of a you get it while the team up is active, because then it's an actual benefit that makes one excited to be the anchor. And I think this is a really great point. We look at the sort of season balance change notes, and there's always some long list of buffs that somebody got because they got removed from a team up anchor position and lost those stats. So it's like last week I was wondering how it would impact the balance, but Elena makes a good point here where it's like it doesn't, because they just give that stat boost back.
Yeah, it's something I probably haven't paid it close enough attention to before, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like they kind of like you don't there's no drop off or like adjustment period, I guess, because they just kind of leave that as it is. So it almost makes you wonder like why do it that way to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the whole like you need the team up in order to activate the anchor bonus, because that's not how it works right now. That anchor bonus is just persistent. Um and I think like gaining another button is one thing. Gaining 100 HP attached to whether or not somebody picks a character, I think might be a little more frustrating to not get, right? Like a big stat boost like that. Are you thinking? Or are you
Oh, no. Sorry.
No, you're good. Then we posted up our draft last week as well, drafting the characters we want to see come to uh, Marvel Zombies. Got a ton of responses on those videos. But let's see. Swag says Maggolt sucks up all the zombies. And Nate Dogg says if they are doing the Sentinels next, I think you should do Magneto, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Gambit, and Luna Snow. Mag would be a
I like
fun
that.
zombies character.
Yeah, and I think that those two kind of complement each other. Like, I think Nate builds off what Swag's saying a little bit. Maybe he didn't intend, or maybe Nate didn't intend it to be that way. But I'm imagining, like with Sentinels, he summons his ults, and he kind of sucks the Sentinels since they're metallic, and kind of like up into they become his meteor or whatever. So that kind of makes more sense to me than like him necessarily sucking up the zombies
Mm,
into the meteor. I like that a lot. I like the idea of the Sentinels in general too, and I definitely like the idea of kind of an X-Men centric team for a mode like that.
yeah, like I don't know. A lot of people said Wolverine in the comments, and I really do think that Wolverine would be awesome with like ramping attack speed and that sort of thing, and then just making the AOE of his ult insanely big. Um, could be really fun. Carrying a bunch of zombies with his like feral leap ability. Um, yeah, he would be cool. And obviously, we're getting Gambit at some point in season 5. All kinds of cool stuff you could do with him in zombies as well.
Hell yeah.
And then Clark says, I genuinely think Storm could work. Full auto base attack, huge AoE lightning strikes, blood tornado that keeps going the more kills you get, or something.
I would love to know how the blood tornado. I mean, maybe with Blade. Uh, I don't know. I guess just sucking up a bunch of zombies turns it red or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, that will be devastating going across, especially those that kind of little map there. Once you get to like Nightmare 2, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. We need to play some more of that mode. We've been kind of off and doing stuff, so we haven't really got a lot of playtime. But I definitely want to at least get through Nightmare like 2 or 3, something like that, before the event goes away.
Mm-hmm. We got a lot of awesome comments about people that they should add to Marvel Zombies. Appreciate everybody who chimed in with their thoughts there. If you guys want to have your comments read, make sure wherever you're watching us, you just leave a comment. You're a lot more likely to have your comment selected if it's on the full episode on Spotify or over on our YouTube. But even if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, if you comment, you have a chance for us to read your comment on the show. So thank you to everybody who responded there. But let's move on and talk about our weekend rivals. And Seth, I know the big thing for our weekend rivals is our trip to DreamHack, but we're going to save that for our topic of the day. But what did you get up to in game this week?
I really didn't get to play that much this week. I don't know about you. Definitely tapped in and played some of the events a little bit that were going on. I feel like I've been just missing a huge aspect of my life because last week pretty busy with work and school, all that. Then we were gone for the weekend, so all that kind of typical playtime has been pretty much gone. And I've been having a little bit of that FOMO of just like, oh God, am I gonna miss all the free chrono tokens that will let me get my convert to units or whatever that I can use to build up that battle pass, get that 1,000 to convert into 100 units or whatever. So yeah, I definitely want to try to touch base with the game a little bit more over the next few days. It's just a matter of time getting there, doing the thing.
Yeah, I played a little bit. I did actually clear Nightmare 2.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
With randos?
What's that?
With randos?
Yeah, well, it was just 4 blades. And honestly, dude, I think it's just the meta. Like that's just what you play when you get to those higher nightmare levels. But I wanted to make sure I got that patch. I wasn't sure, or at least one of the name cards. I wasn't sure how into it you and Larry still were, so I went ahead and just queued up. But I'm definitely down to go in with you and clear Nightmare 2 as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to. It's just again a matter of getting there. Like there's just not enough time of the day for all the stuff and the things.
What do you think about the Halloween event? We'd been talking a little bit about them, like bringing back the mechanic, like the fun little mechanics, and so they brought the board game thing back. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's been great again. Like I know they've been pretty liberal, pretty good with the time that they allow for these events. They're not like there for just 3-4 days, something like that. So they give you some time. I just need to get back in and do the thing. But I think I made pretty good progress, at least into what is it, Galacta's Gift 2? Is that this event?
Oh yeah. You're talking about the one with the costume token at the end.
Oh no, so
no, the Penny Parker one it has a different name, but I think the one that like you get the costume token is the Galacta's Gift.
Well, I love both of those things. I want them to keep on rocking with all of the above for sure.
Yeah, I finished the board game thing. I didn't pay for it, but really the only thing that was included in the premium was just all the like penny stuff, right? Like there was a name card, a MVP.
Yeah, this is one of the few I passed on the premium, but again, just because I don't really have much interest in playing Penny. Maybe one day.
But yeah, I'm liking the events that they have going right now. I like and it really is kind of just like a little engagement play, right? It doesn't probably take them a whole lot of time to stand up one of those Galactic Gift events, but I mean, I think I'm up to like 2,500 units or something like that, just off of like overages in the battle pass, and then the stuff that the units you get from both these events and stuff like that. So Nettie's being real generous with this sort of stuff, and they kind of always have been, and that's why I don't mind paying for the stuff I want when it does roll around.
For sure.
And then I started playing a little bit more Adam after this weekend because
it was fun to watch him in that competitive play.
Yeah, and then you play him and you're like, oh yeah, this game really sucks if you're just like by yourself as Adam and your team doesn't really know how to play around you. Just because you forget just how little like movement ability or like survivability that Adam has. I mean, he can put out a lot of damage, but if you get jumped on, you have no way of really escaping. And your cooldowns are so valuable, you can't like blow them on just keeping yourself alive.
Yeah, and correct me. I mean, I know that it wasn't always this way, but he played a big role, in the stuff we saw over the weekend. He was in a lot of like 3 support comps, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he can be viable with 2, but you've definitely got to be like, your team has to be conscientious of where they are in
hmm
proximity to you, and that kind of thing. It can be hard to pull off, especially if you're not verbally communicating.
Well, especially in these lower ranks too, where there's just a lot of 3 DPS and you don't have big targets to kind of get your resets off on your uh, for your healing charge. So
Hmm.
uh, I'm gonna stick with it because I'm having fun, and but I'm also like trying to really understand, like, okay, when's the best time to use my ult now? Because it's like, especially in these lower elos, people aren't taking team fights as cleanly, so they're not getting wiped as cleanly. So you don't have as many kind of clean opportunities to hide and then bring everybody back. Um, I feel like I get a lot more of my reses wrong than I get right with Adam Warlock.
I do feel I haven't played a lot of Adam, just kind of enough to get like his trophy once upon a time. I feel like it's been forever. It's coming up on Rival's year birthday.
I
Can you
know,
believe it?
that's crazy.
We'll have to make it a cake or something, but I'll do it. Yeah, I feel like there's a finesse or an art to him that is kind of hard to pull off. I've definitely seen it done poorly, and I don't really understand it. I haven't played him enough to really get a feel for how to do it on point consistently. But yeah, there's a lot of value in Adam if all the cards are in place.
Yeah, yeah, he's not
He's
the
good
guy
to
you
have in
can.
your pocket, if nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not the guy that you pick every game and you're like, I'm just going to solo climb with Adam, because you have to have certain conditions. I'm trying to force him into everything right now just to kind of get my skills up with him. But yeah,
Well, especially in quick play, that
yeah,
kind of thing. Like it doesn't really matter as long as you're not running 5 DPS. You should be in good shape. But just play the game.
for sure. All right, let's move on. This week, we are drafting the most annoying abilities to deal with in the game. Interpret that however you want, Seth. I've got my kind of justifications for my stuff here, but yes, drafting the most annoying abilities to deal with. I had the first pick last week, so that means, Seth, you have the first pick this week.
Okay. Um, I am. I'm torn because I feel like a lot of them are pretty equal in my boat. So I'm gonna just kind of start off. These are not necessarily in any order. They're kind of just in the order of them as I think of them. And so first thing that I'm gonna go with is Scarlet Witch. Um, and again, I don't think she's my like straight up number one.
Well, which of her
It's just
abilities? Because we're just talking
oh
individual abilities.
okay, so not necessarily just
Yeah.
ult.
Yeah, no, not
Okay,
necessarily the ult.
okay, that kind of changes things around a little bit for me then. I'm gonna go. hmm, I will say I'm still struggling. Let's go. I'm just gonna go with something with some hard CC. I'm gonna go things ult.
Mhm.
So just kind of stops you in your tracks. I feel like it always gets whipped out just at the exact wrong time, especially if it's done well. And it can definitely be like a game changer in a fight if you've got somebody there. It's not really that great by itself, but if you're in a team fight and the team is there communicating, focusing one or two different characters, then yeah, it can totally shift the dynamic of that fight.
Mhm. I think for my number one pick, I'm going to go with Penny's Web.
Mm.
Uh, it's another
Hmm.
hard CC. It's on a very like oppressively low cooldown. I think it's every 3 or 4 seconds you get that thing. It's got a huge hurt box on it that counts for hitting you, and it interrupts ults and all kinds of other stuff as well. So I don't know. It's just a really high value hard CC ability that you get very regularly. And
Hmm.
especially when you're playing tank, you just are constantly getting hit by it.
Yeah, I'd agree. My number two, I'm gonna go with. I feel like I'm gonna get like just pigeonhole myself into ults because they're the first thing that are coming to mind for me. But I'm gonna go Loki just because of the deception factor. Like with his ults, you never quite know who he's going to copy. Usually it's a support ult, and just when you expect, like just when you've kind of like maybe kept track, oh, Invis just used her ult, I should be good to make a move now. That's when that Loki's going to strike. So Loki number 2 for me.
Loki's a good number 2 also because it can be annoying with your teammates as well when you desperately need a support ult and they're like, I'm just gonna duplicate Star-Lord. See you guys.
Because I want the glory, I want the kills, yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, it goes both ways.
For my second, I am going to go Groot's Ironwood wall, the big wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about this from a healer's perspective because I feel like, and this is especially true with like your run with where you were getting your Lord Cap, where it's just like it's so easy to get far away from the back line and not realize that you have a Groot wall in between you. And when you're like a Cloak and Dagger, you don't have really any way to deal with that shit. You got to hope that your DPS mows those walls down. So all of his walls are annoying, but the Ironwood wall especially is very annoying.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Number 3, I'll go Scarlet Witch's primary fire, just her basic attack. I think it's an age old complaint from day one of Marvel Rivals. Just she's a no skill character in a lot of ways. You're holding one button on your mouse, you're holding one button on your controller, the trigger there, and there's not really much of a reason to release that. So plus it has a hell of a reach on it too. Like I feel like she gets anywhere near you, and it's just gonna start sucking away. So yeah, for 3, Scarlet Witch, primary fire for me.
I'm gonna go random Squirrel Girl spam when she's just kind of playing the trigonometry game, the geometry game, and bouncing her projectiles off walls and stuff like that. And you just randomly get hit by them. Pisses you off because again, it's like they don't deserve that kill. Why did they get that kill? So yeah, Squirrel Girl spam fire.
I considered that as well, just because again, it is like needlessly frustrating or needlessly good. She's again like I think she's got a little bit more of a skill curve than
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch, but yeah, like I think I've made that argument before too. Good stuff. 4, I'm going Spider-Man. Going with the ult for Spider-Man, just
Mm.
getting tied up. It seems like if you've got a good Spider-Man or you're up against a good Spider-Man, they're going to be popping that all off just nonstop all over the place. Yeah, ult Spider-Man number 4.
I'm gonna take my first ult here at number 4, and that's Jeff ult. Kind of for the same reason about the Loki ult, because it can be annoying both ways. It can be annoying when you get swallowed up by the enemy Jeff ult, but it's also kind of annoying if you get swallowed up by your own team's Jeff ult sometimes when they do it in a not great situation. Also, I've been playing this game now for almost a year, and I'm still very confused about how high up the box goes, when exactly you're outside of the ult. Because I feel like more often than not, I'm like, I should not have been swallowed by that thing. Yet here I am getting spitted by a shark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very fine line, and it's not very clear. But there's got to be a video or a diagram out there somewhere that explains it. But in the moment, it's probably pretty hard to gauge that unless you're just really tuned in with what's going on. All right, I like that for a number 4. Number 5, I'm torn between 2, but I think I'm gonna double up on Spider-Man a little bit because this always just grinds my gears. Whatever the ability is where he yoinks you with his web,
Mm.
and like it got me in one match I played last week, like probably 3 or 4, an embarrassing number of times. That it kind of happened back to back. We're playing on, is it Shibuya, the map
Oh yeah.
where you're pushing the spider car or whatever.
Yep.
You get their Master Weavers up at the top, like there's a little drop off point right by the final point. And I don't know, I just kept going by that hole, that little gap in the wall there where the drop off is, and that Spider-Man, every damn time, he would just yoink me off the ledge and I would fall to my death. And it frustrated me. It vexed me to no end, but it kept working. It took me longer than it should have to learn from my mistake or just kind of watch that corner as I was going through. So, yeah, I feel like you never expect it. Same thing. I guess it is also should be as soon as you leave spawn, a good
Hmm.
Spider-Man can just yoink you off from the left, and if he's good enough to like hit the support from like out of the lineup of people just jumping out of spawn, then that's a pretty good way to turn or start a round off in your favor.
Hmm. Also, the center turn on point B of that map, right underneath the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So there's a lot of possibility for Spider-Man there, and there's another character that kind of has the same capability as well. I chose not to go with her because I love her.
My final pick, I think, is going to be BP Spear. He
Mm,
gets those resets off of it, and then there was that brief stretch where BP just felt really broken, and he was diving your back line the whole time. But even still, I feel like every time I watch a replay where I'm getting dove by a BP, I'm like, that spear didn't come anywhere close to me. He got the reset off of some like weird splash damage in the AoE of it. So yeah, just as a support, getting hit by that, and you're like, that's an instant kill. Sucks to deal with.
amen.
All right. Well, what do you guys think in the comments is the most annoying ability to deal with? And who on this podcast has the most annoying lineup of five? Let us know in the comments. All right, Seth, let's move on. You ready to talk about some news?
Yeah, I reckon so.
All right. First item on the list, we've got the Wolverine Dog Brother X Immortal Beast costume reveal. I don't think this was on any roadmaps or anything like that. They just kind of
No,
surprise announced it.
I am down with this game. I like the look of it a lot. It reminds me of somebody you want to. Well, you're probably this might not come to your mind. Does it make you think of anybody?
Probably not the person that's making you think of. It's
Who does it
making me
make you
think of a
think of?
league character. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not. It's making me think of like Akuma from Street Fighter.
mm,
It's kind of got the same like the gi, the kind of like bee belt thing, the kind of poofed up Dragon Ball-y hair a little bit. Yeah, I like it a lot.
is there anywhere in game where the little like oh well, I guess they're showing the abilities here. That the wolf that he's the like fire wolf doesn't show up anywhere in the skin, right? It's just like the MVP animation or whatever.
I I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if that. I mean, the wolf is the coolest part of the skin to me in this trailer. Not that the whole skin isn't cool, but I just wish that fire
Maybe if it was
wolf
like
came out.
like a something with the ult animation or something like
Yeah.
that could be cool. Maybe. I didn't notice it in the trailer for sure.
Yeah, no, I think this is like an 1800 unit skin or something like that. So it doesn't have any of the like
Yeah.
bells and whistles.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I think it's the coolest skin we've gotten for Wolverine as of late. I feel like the one he got in the last battle pass wasn't that great. Um, I think the
Yeah,
Weapon X
probably
one,
Weapon
yeah.
X is probably my most recent favorite skin of his. So yeah, this is cool. Again, I don't really play enough Wolverine to go out of my way to buy it, but if it showed up in a bundle with something else cool, I would be sorely tempted for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, Seth, we have a leak from XOX Leak talking about the season 5 map, and you might have to help me out with some lore here. But
Hmm.
some voice lines have been data mined for a buttload of characters for the Collector's Theme Park map. I know a little bit from a video I watched about it, but Seth, you might know more. What is the Collector's Theme Park?
I don't necessarily know about the collector's theme park, but I know the collector as a character. You know, he pretty much is what he sounds like. He collects things, maybe sometimes organisms or whatever. And so the idea of like him with a theme park, it probably has a lot of possibility, a lot of potential. I like the idea of this, of anything kind of collector related, and it's making me imagine that this is going to be a convoy or convergence map in some way, because I'm imagining taking a tour of this collector's collection, and whatever, like whether the theme park is like a vessel for the stuff that he collects. I imagine there's going to be a lot of cool stuff and a lot of cool Easter eggs displayed throughout the tour of this map. If I can't get X Mansion, I'll take something like this for sure, because like, there are a lot of possibilities that could be going on here.
So I did watch a video about the collector's theme park, and apparently it is something that's like a part of his character. He has a theme park. There's like a Ferris wheel, and it's a place for him to show off all of his collected oddities and imprisoned organisms that you were making reference to.
Mhm.
I like that. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the video that's playing here, Seth, but a lot of the voice lines talking about how kind of creepy and eerie and odd the place feels. So that's really cool to me too. Like, what oddities are they gonna have for us to discover? So I'm very interested in this. Again, I wanted X Mansion. That's what we were talking about. But this sounds really cool to me as well. I agree. I think it's my guess is it's going to be a convoy map. And you know what this kind of makes me think of is the Blizzard world. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
from
I'd
the
forgotten
other
about that.
game.
The other that shall not be named. Yeah, I like the idea of that. That was a cool map too. Like I think with something, there's a lot, like you can probably make something like this just super dense with Easter eggs, with like between the rides themselves, lots of colorful stuff going on or something like that. And then the artifacts that are kind of hidden around, some maybe hidden in plain sight. I think there's a lot of potential there for sure.
Uh, Another cool little like I guess nuance in some of the voice lines is it seems like the objective of the map is to break into the collector's theme park uh, in order to free those who he has captive. But there are some characters like Rocket who talk about it as if they're like on a heist to steal a bunch of stuff from the collector's collection, and it's not as noble a cause. So I just thought that was a cool little
Yeah, and it
nuance in the
probably
voice line.
depends on yeah, because like one of the cool things, I've been on a pretty long break unintentionally from the Rivals comics, but I think it's pretty cool to read through some of those, because different groups of characters constantly have different things going on, like Hellfire Gala, Squirrel Girl and Rocket and Thing are like on vacation, so they're off totally doing something different, and it ends up kind of coinciding and converging with what's going on at the gala. So, and of course, a whole bunch of stuff's going on there with individual groups doing their thing. So, I think there's a lot of possibility here. Like, some characters are going to probably be there for a reason, and then some other characters are probably going to have ulterior motives or whatever. So, yeah, I think it sounds really cool. I like that side of the game as well, where you kind of piece together a little story of what's going on, a kind of a greater context.
Um, are they doing the same thing this season where they're releasing the map like a couple weeks into the season rather than day of?
I don't know for sure. I haven't seen. It's probably something that we'll get in the roadmap that launches tomorrow or whenever. Usually, it seems like it's the day after we do the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at rivals.gg to see if anything is leaked about the timing of it, and it doesn't seem so. What's your preference, Seth? Do you like it all? The new character, new map, all the new shit dropping day one, or do you like it spaced out a
I
little more?
I kind of do, just because it kind of gives you a little bit more time to get acclimated with everything, instead of just kind of constantly getting it trickled out to you. If the season's going to be short as it is, I would kind of like as much time as I can get to get comfortable, get acquainted with all the new bells and whistles.
Yeah, I'm with you too. It also just makes the start of the season feel like even more of an event when there's all this stuff that people are excited to try out. It's like the doors opening at the museum, right? And everybody runs to the thing they're most interested in
Hmm.
first. So Um, I, so yeah, I hope it comes out day of, but I won't be surprised if they release it a couple weeks after. All right. And our final news item is esports related because, Seth, I have made it a commitment of mine to keep up a little better with Marvel Rivals esports. And because I enjoyed this weekend so much. So let's start off with some really bad news for Marvel Rivals esports. Sentinels has announced that they are leaving Marvel Rivals esports for now. And in a statement they posted up on X, it said, "Today we are announcing that we will be pausing our operations in Marvel Rivals. We couldn't be prouder of what we accomplished in the last year. Together, we built something special, leaving our mark on the early history of the game. If and when Netties roll out a program with team incentives, we would revisit the decision. All of our players are now free to explore new opportunities, and we wish each of them nothing but success in whatever comes next."
What's the deal?
So I did a little bit of poking around on what this might be about, because Sentinels seem to be very heavily invested in the Marvel Rivals esports scene. I think they had a lot of kind of early season success. I think they had some success in the like mid-season invitational, but then they didn't qualify for the in-person rounds this weekend
Mhm.
for Marvel Rival Ignite. So kind of some up and down achievements there for it. But more importantly, what it seems like might have happened is that, um, let's see, where was it? It
Is it
seemed,
where they're entering the LCS or whatever? Is that
well, I think that could also be a part of it.
okay?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So Sentinels is taking over one of the franchise spots in the LCS, and League is notoriously the most expensive esport to operate in, right?
League of Legends for those unacquainted or whatever.
Yeah. So if you're going to compete in the LCS, you have to obviously hire and pay your players, and pro league players get paid quite a bit, not as much as they used to, but still they demand quite a big contract. But on top of that, you also have to house them in Los Angeles. You have to build a facility in Los Angeles to play and practice out of, scrim from, those sorts of things. So the cost of running a league team is really, really expensive, and I have to imagine does play some kind of a part in this. But the other part is that it seems like Netties didn't really have a finalized plan for what 2026 esports was going to look like for Marvel. And they didn't really talk to orgs about next season until this weekend at the in-person tournament at DreamHack Atlanta. But the problem is Sentinels wasn't there to be a part of those conversations. And so I have to imagine part of it is just you don't really know what you're investing in going into next year, how much prize money is going to be up, what sponsors are secured for it. So, and then like they were talking about the incentives for teams to participate if we make it this far, or if we, stream this many hours on the game, or you give us back some money for that time or whatever, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So I think this really comes down to just kind of a lack of communication and not necessarily how sold Sentinels is on Rivals as an esport.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too. Because I mean, they were a huge presence in that early phase. Whatever, I think it was just Marvel Rivals Championship Series. Is that what it was
Hmm.
called originally for that first season or so? And
Yeah.
then now we've got Ignite. So I mean, they were pretty big, about as big as it gets for a little while, and then just kind of struggled later on. So yeah, I do get. I think that kind of goes along with. It's going to be part of my answer to a question we get to at the end of the show. But with something like this, like the beauty, at least at first, of a thing like the Overwatch League or COD League or whatever is, that they're very meticulously planned in a lot of ways, and they're just very well organized. And they follow kind of a pretty general sports org formula, if that makes sense. Not that I'm the most knowledgeable about a lot of that stuff, but um, this does seem, and like kind of like my problem, and I think the struggle that I personally have had getting into and keeping track of Marvel Rivals competitive esports is that there's just not a whole lot of marketing going on, probably because there's not a ton of money there to be put into it, at least maybe early on. But I think if that's what you want, that was kind of like the whole drive behind Overwatch. I think even before the game launched, there were these plans to turn it into this huge organization. Um, there are probably pros and cons to both ways of looking at it. I think you brought up something cool this weekend. That if you want to speak to more on, you can. But I think you kind of mentioned the idea of like maybe starting slow could allow like more room for growth, because I think that's part of the reason that Overwatch League died, was because they started too big and too quickly when the world wasn't ready for an esports organization like that, and the money and the sponsors and all that just weren't consistently there enough at that time. But yeah, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I think what we were talking about this weekend is true, that you want to start small. You want to make sure you're not promising the moon. The entire reason the esports bubble collapsed is because esports organizations were going to these sponsors and saying, look at these numbers, which were often inflated. Look at this engagement, which was often inflated, with like bot views and that sort of stuff. There wasn't as much kind of like Nielsen research into these leagues, and so people were dumping a bunch of money on a lot of big promises. But eventually, when you're pulling investors in like that, they're going to come knocking at your door and say, hey, I gave you guys $1 million for that inaugural season, with the promise of some sort of return on investment for that $1 million. And when it wasn't there, companies kind of left. Overwatch League compounded that with COVID, with the sort of controversies around Blizzard that caused sponsors like Coca-Cola and all that to leave. But overall, the whole problem is that esports have often been made so big and sold as so big, and then they don't attract the engaged audience that they're promising, and so they fizzle out and they fail. I think Rivals is probably approaching this in a more reasonable way. They're not promising a lot outside of, we're going to support it with in-game tools. We're going to allow, content creators to host their own tournaments. And we're also going to put up a significant amount of money for the prize pool. But all of that stuff you kind of view as an expense and not as an investment. And I think in the early days, it's okay to view these things as expenses. It's just, in order to scale something, you have to have a clearly laid out plan and be able to communicate that plan to the orgs that you want to involve. Because the other problem with not investing and getting a bunch of sponsor money in is you're not incentivizing your Sentinels and your G2s and your Fanatics and your KT Rollsters and like your global gigantic esports organizations to want to come in and invest in this thing. So, uh, you know, it's a chicken and egg kind of situation.
Yeah, I think just I agree. I love the idea of kind of building slowly but surely. On the flip side, there's probably a way not to do that, and I think that if you're going to build slowly, that's great, but you do need to kind of come at it with a long-term plan in mind. And doing this kind of thing, if that's true, just kind of like planning everything at the last event of the season and just kind of there coming up and divulging the plan to your organizations, that kind of leaves some room for that. It's a little too mysterious for me if I was going to be investing millions of dollars into a team like this, whether between paying the players, paying expenses, that kind of thing.
And I think one of the toughest things about esports is the level of turnover from organizations and players that are in it, because um, I worked in League of Legends esports. It'll be 2 years. Let's see, it's 2025. I got laid off in 2023. 2 years ago, I was working in League of Legends esports, and now there's only one team in the LCS that existed in the LCS when I was working in League. All of the other teams were not in. All those organizations weren't in it. And in baseball, I'm a Cleveland Guardians fan. That team's over 100 years old. There's 100 years of tradition behind this thing. Seth, you're a Yankees fan. Same thing. Just hundreds of years, or over 100 years of tradition in with the Yankees. And it's really hard to get invested in an esport when it's like the team that I pull for, that I buy the merch for, that I know, learn their players' names, that I watch all their games, just might not be here next year. Like that's a tough thing to want to invest your fandom in.
Yeah, and I mean, again, those are kind of just broader problems with esports in general, just where it's so new. There are a lot of growing pains going on. There are a lot of like legitimacy questions and concerns. Just as a person who lives and teaches in a small town with schools that have fledgling esports programs, when people hear about those things there that maybe don't have kids that game or just aren't very familiar with that kind of stuff anyway, they're like, it's not a sport. And there's probably an argument for that, but I think there are a lot of arguments for it. But when it's not out there or supported as much, I think people tend to see it as a way to make money quickly, but there's not necessarily a lot of long-term game plan there just because this kind of thing hasn't been around for that long. Competitive gaming's been around since gaming launched, but like just whether like trying to beat high scores in Pac-Man or whatever. But I think there this whole idea of like dedicated organizations following a more traditional sports model, it's still very much in its infancy, and so we're in that kind of phase right now. Is it going to sink or is it going to swim? I hope it swims.
Yeah. The legitimacy thing is such a good point too, because it's like if we would have told people that like, hey, we're going to Atlanta this weekend to go watch an Atlanta Falcons game, nobody would bat an eye over us, spending some time. But most people who we would say, hey, we're taking a weekend trip down to Atlanta to watch professional Marvel Rivals, most people aren't even going to know what Marvel Rivals is. But then when they learn we're going down there to watch other people play a video game, it just becomes kind of a like, what are you talking about? And so,
My very wife, she
yeah,
I'm playing Rivals last week. After she's like, go, do the thing. That sounds fun. Sounds great for you. And I'm playing with you and Larry or whatever one night, and she's like, you're going to Atlanta to watch this, to watch this.
yeah, not to
Okay,
play, not to play,
not to play, just to watch,
just to
to
watch.
soak it in. And I had a fucking blast. You want to talk about that blast? Is there
Yeah.
anything else we need to talk about?
Well, I'm sure
Sentinels
we'll
and
talk more
boards at
about
all?
some of the stuff here when we're talking kind of specifically about Rivals. So, yeah, we went to Atlanta, went to DreamHack, watched a lot of really good Marvel Rivals on Saturday, and then watched a lot of really bad Marvel Rivals on Sunday, and then came home before the grand finals last match happened. But Seth, what was your overall read on the weekend?
I had a blast. Kind of the more I think back on it, it was kind of a whirlwind. We got there. I drove, or it was in a car for probably about 6-7 hours, something like that, over that morning. So like got up at 5:30, was out of the house by 6, got gas, drove to Asheville, jumped in the car with you, took a quick pee break before getting in the car. I should probably mention that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Don't leave that out.
yeah, before getting in the car, not in the car. But from there, another 3.5 hour drive to Atlanta. So that part was a little trying, especially the drive back. Where when it's like nighttime, I think it's a lot easier to do a long drive in the morning
Mm-hmm.
than it is at night. But we made it through. I think this would have been one of my like top five. It might still be up there, pretty close, but it's probably one of my top five um, adult brief adventures, brief getaways. If we had been able to maybe spend a little bit more time, if it wasn't just like, hey, get there, got to jump to the venue, find something to eat, go to bed. Wake
Mm-hmm.
up the next morning, find something to eat, go to the venue, drive home. So a little bit more time to like explore, maybe hit up that fancy aquarium they have in Atlanta, or just kind of explore the town a little bit more. I think
I just
would.
I'm laughing at just how much you brought up this aquarium. You brought it up both days that we were there, a couple times the last day we were there,
Mhm,
and now
mhm.
again on the podcast. So I know when we go back for DreamHack Atlanta in May, so to see IM and COD League, we got to hit up the aquarium.
I love a good aquarium. I don't know if you know this about me. I love a good zoo. I love a good aquarium. One of my favorite parts of going to Dallas for work a couple years ago was taking some time and going to the Dallas World Aquarium, and
Mhm.
it was amazing. It was just like it was definitely one of my top 5 grown up adult excursions, just because saw some cool stuff, little bit more, a little cooler than it was at like Ripley's Myrtle Beach, or in the Smoky Mountains or whatever, Pigeon Forge, that kind of thing. So, and yeah, all the stuff I saw looks cool. I will be going to that aquarium if we go to DreamHack Atlanta in 2026.
Yeah, I definitely a whirlwind, but I don't know. It gave me Melee tournament vibes, like there's a bunch of people. We're all kind of there for the same thing, but we're all there for very different things. There was the artist alley, there's the big indie showcases, the cosplay contest, the 17 fighting game tournaments, EA college football, GeoGuessr, the free arcade to play in, and then obviously the Marvel Rivals stuff. And it's just, you feel surrounded by a celebration of all the things that when we were a kid, you got made fun of for enjoying.
Yeah, I think that was what I wasn't ready for that, just kinda the overall vibe. When I found out that it was a whole festival, I was like, "That's a really cool idea," and I think that's really what I missed a lot. Going to a COD League major before, when it was, I think they've kind of they're shifting more to this model where some of their majors are gonna be centered around festivals like this. I think DreamHack specifically, they've done before. That's, I think, 2 at least of the upcoming season for COD League are going to be DreamHack events, and I think there's a lot to that, because I remember kind of being a little bit bored between matches
Hmm.
at that COD major, because like if you're not playing in one of the kind of pickup tournaments or whatever for a small prize pool or something like that, or if you're not there like just trying to constantly do meet and greets, or watch FaZe Clan do their stream off on the side, or Optic or whatever, then there's not a whole lot to do. And I loved more. I wasn't really expecting it, but it was just so cool to be able to go around to check out the artist venues, to look at some of the other events that like I wasn't necessarily interested in, but kind of like, kind of just was intriguing to look at. Clash Royale, I have zero interest in that game, but they went all out and had like a big ass castle built, like a big rock formation, just kind of like on brand for that game, I guess. And we talked about kind of how cool that is to be able to see stuff like that. I think there were a lot of different communities kind of converging here, and that was a lot of fun. And again, there was kind of something for everybody. They had games you could just go pick up, like play on a retro arcade game. There were indie developers there with their games that you were free to try out. You could talk to those developers about kind of how to play the game, what the game's like, what you can kind of expect in the future, that kind of thing. And then, of course, me, I'm a horror for merchandise. So there was a time when I was in Dallas a couple of years ago. We went to the JFK Memorial Museum, where he was killed at. I always forget how to say it, if it's Dealey or Daily. I think it's Daily Plaza. I dropped like $200 at the gift shop there, because I was like, I'm never gonna be back in Dallas again. Probably. Hope that's not true, but you never know. Like I hadn't been to Dallas in 30 years at that point, and so who's to say? But I was like, I'm gonna get this cool hat that has a JFK quote on it. It says "Ask not." I feel like it's badass, because it's gonna be like, "Don't talk to me, people." And then, but it comes from a JFK quote. I got like some replica newspapers, from like just JFK historical events. I got a whole bunch of crap, and I was sorely tempted to do that here. I got myself a hat, got myself a shirt. They had like a whole clothing brand line I was not aware of that would be like a thing. And it was a vibe too. Like I saw a bunch of stuff in the outlet section, like a basketball jersey I almost grabbed. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna be a dream hack boy from now on, if that can be a thing. Let's make it a thing.
Dude, if you've never entered a tournament like that, like if you look at DreamHack and there's a game that you even sort of like playing, and I would highly recommend joining a tournament to one of those events, because um, I worked in Melee for a couple of years, and I entered the big house One of the years that I was at GG. Big House is the second biggest melee tournament in the world after Genesis, and it was just cool, like to invest time in getting better, to come to a place where I knew like other people are going to be interested in this, and I'm guaranteed to like play in a competitive way. Honestly, being there kind of made me want to find uh like a Discord server that does like pickup games, or like, you know, organizes weekly like tournament nights and you play with a consistent group of people. Just because I love the idea of like organized competitive play, and DreamHack is so cool because it's a celebration of those things.
And it was so cool, just to, like, seeing the passion in the fans, especially, like, some of the games on day 2 that we were, or it was our day 1, but it was day 2 of the competition. But, some of the games, maybe the hype wasn't all there, but, like, FlyQuest, those fans on Sunday, it was just awesome, watching some of, like, the passion from some of those people that I had no idea existed. Like, I know FlyQuest is a whole thing, across a number of different games, but, on that Marvel Rival seat, I mean, there was a whole line of people up front. They were just going ham, waving flags, jumping up and down. They had cardboard cutouts of some of the players' faces. And that was just really cool to see. I really like that, and just like the passion with which people were just talking about the gameplay. So like we saw a guy in front of us explaining some of the meta to somebody behind him that wasn't as familiar with the game. I felt like I was at like a football match or something like that, just like at a game where everybody's kind of there, united for one thing. And I think that's something that you don't really like. It's probably hard to imagine if you're not into that game, but like just kind of seeing the passion there, it was a beautiful thing for me.
Mm-hmm. And you get to see the passion of the players too. I mean, we saw Terra popping off on that Saturday for 100 Thieves, you know,
Maybe a
especially,
100 Thieves fan from Marvel Rivals, yeah.
yeah, especially in that game versus Citadel Gaming. You know, we saw Spark Chief kind of overwhelmed with emotion during that FlyQuest match versus, I think that was against Navi.
I felt so bad for him. They just would not, that camera would not leave him alone. Just like, get out of his
I
face,
know they had
man.
like a video camera and taking photos of them. I'm like,
Like they saw him brimming with tears, or tears just flowing down the guy's face, and you're gonna be all up in his grill. Come on, but I mean, I guess that's what the people want to see, but why?
yeah. Uh, but we did get to watch some games, and I want us to take a little bit of time to talk about the games themselves. What was some stuff that stuck out to you, Seth?
I think I loved how, like, you kind of get in this mindset, especially where you and I, like, we play in some lower elos, if we're being honest with ourselves. But just the frequency, like, I think it gets kind of hard to picture like the frequency with which some of these people, some of these pro players can swap and flex between characters on the fly. Like, I mean, they were just ducking and weaving, adjusting, minute to minute. And I think there's a whole lot of calculation, I think, that has to go into that, to determine what makes sense when, and like in what context. And then how do I manage that with like my ult build up and that kind of thing. And between that and just the variety of different comps that we saw, like we saw comps in this weekend that I feel like I haven't seen in this game to this day
Yeah,
a lot, right? Like I know we've seen a little bit of goats, like the 3-3 setup, 3 tanks, 3 supports, but we saw that a couple times played in a couple of different ways. Over the weekend, we saw a lot of triple support, but not necessarily like it wasn't always a winning scenario. Like we saw teams beat triple support when they were just running like regular 2-2-2 or whatever,
hmm
right? So we saw 3 tanks, but what was it? 3 tanks, 1 DPS,
two
two
healers. Yeah,
support, two
yeah,
two healers. Yeah, so we saw some of that. Like there was just like a lot of depth and variety of the gameplay. Like no, it wasn't. I just remember that goats era in Overwatch, and I'll never forget it because it just got so boring to watch in a lot of ways. You're gonna see the same few characters played in the same composition just over and over and over again, mirrored team to team, and I love that we're not getting that with Marvel Rivals.
yeah. The pick ban system is so good now. The like the protection and the bans only apply to one team rather than across the board. I think it presents a lot of really cool strategy. I found myself really, and I'm like this when I watch League because the draft is so important, right? There are games won and lost in the draft, and so you kind of lock in when that draft starts. And I felt like there were some of those games where that draft was that impactful. I mean, the FlyQuest game against Virtus Pro on Sunday that sent them down to the losers bracket. I felt like they just got outdrafted the entire time, right? We saw
Mhm.
games where like Luna and Invis were getting banned out from FlyQuest, and FlyQuest just wasn't able to find the sustain on a different, main healer. They would try to run the cloak or whatever. And so I think I grew a lot more appreciation for that, but also just, and it's funny because when you're there and the game actually starts, you're only really seeing what you would see on TV anyway, right? Like if you were watching at home. But for some reason, I think, if it's the energy of the crowd or seeing the way that the players are reacting, just I grew a much deeper appreciation for how razor thin the margin is in a lot of the fights that take place, right? Where it's like, oh, like that that atom was at 3 HP and got healed back up versus taking one extra shot and dying, and like that's the big difference in the fight. So and I love doing this when I was working in League too, like seeing those players performing in person just shows like helps you to grow an appreciation for the level that they're playing at.
It really does, and even on top of that, like, I've talked about it, I'm sure, on this show before too, but, like, I always appreciate those, like, watching competitive esports more when I can see the players kinda put a face to the name. Like, I don't really get as invested or involved when you're just watching, a stream of the game, kinda switching back and forth between players, and you see the player's name or their persona, but you don't like have a face there. You don't have that
Mm-hmm.
camera on the face. And so it's one thing to get that at least because then like you kind of you're able to put a face to the name. You're watching someone's expression and like kind of the intensity with which they're playing. But when you're there in person too, like you're not just getting that brief window every couple of minutes or so. Like you can consistently watch it and check in, like kind of like on the players, how they're playing. Do they look phased? Do they look like they're starting to sweat or, that kind of thing? Like how's it going there? Well, at one point where for 100 Thieves, I forget the player's name, but their support player, when he lost a match for them because he botched the Jeff spit there at the last second of the game. He was just like laying his head down on the table, like on the desk. Why? Like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And so, like, they briefly showed that on camera for a second, but like, you really, I feel like could feel it a lot more there in person. So, yeah, I think that's a lot of the beauty of events like this. And again, like anybody that tells me that this isn't a sport, I would want to take them to one of those events to be able to just show like here's the dedication, here's the passion that goes along with something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh, no, I thought it was a really great time. Um, yeah, there was a couple performances I did want to touch on. The 100 Thieves stuff we talked about, and I think it was Melania. I think is the name of the Jeff player on that team. I just
That sounds
remember
right.
looking. What's that?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I just remember looking over at you during that play because the Jeff jumps off the map, has two people that he swallowed, spits them out right before he reaches the like death box at the bottom of the map. He dies, and the other two, the two opponents that he has gets back to the map
Because it was like what was it, Angela
and a
and
Psylocke.
yeah, so they just kind of like swooped up. It was like it's one of those things like was it a misclick or was it just like a bad decision like last
Mm-hmm.
second or something like that. But yeah, like you just kind of felt people in the audience going, ooh. And I think I looked over at you a couple times when something like that had. That was the worst one, but I looked over and I'm like, at least it's not just me because I've definitely made that kind of mistake a few times. It's nice to see that the pros can do that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought 100 Thieves played really well. They adapted really well. They gave up the Psylocke to Jerky quite a bit in that game that they ended up losing, and I think that was maybe the difference maker. But Terra played great. Delena, I think, played really great. Their tank line played well. I just thought their supports were kind of dying early in a lot of fights, and in a lot of situations where maybe they shouldn't have died as early. And I thought that was maybe the difference. And then the next day was when I got to watch my team, which is FlyQuest, play, and just absolutely abysmal matches out of them overall. And I thought the big difference was they were playing Vess on the mag, and Vess is a really good Emma player, but I felt like the main reason you play mag in top tier is for his ult and his ability to find value out of that, hitting a cloak and dagger that just ulted, or bursting down a Luna during ult or something like that. And I felt like he just got like no value out of a single mag ult for the entire 2 games that we got to watch.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching myself in a lot of ways there because again, I've put a lot of time in with mag, and I can definitely hit some of those, but I don't always have that DPS accuracy either. So I've definitely whiffed my fair share of mag ults too, and again, it was nice to see that it's not just me, that it can happen even in that high of an elo, but yeah, I do think that was a big part of the problem. Kind of hard to argue with that.
I Seth, I know that you probably were a lot like me this year, where you probably didn't watch nearly enough as much Marvel Rivals esports as you wanted to. So I guess my question to kind of end this topic is, what are a couple of the changes you want to see going into next year that'll help you stay more engaged in the scene, be more interested in what's going on?
I think just more of a marketing, which we've mentioned before, kind of more of a digital presence would go a long way. Because again, like I kind of had a vague awareness of when events were going on online, but depending on what area you're looking at, like who you want to watch or whatever, those, of course, like that's just where it's a global phenomenon. It's going to be hard to watch events when they're taking place overseas, depending on the schedule or whatever. But just kind of like I found myself not always being aware when matches were going on, even when they were like North America matches. I think maybe not just relying on the Twitch notifications, like if you're following Marvel Rivals Esports or Marvel Ignite on um, Twitch or YouTube or whatever, but maybe like just kind of putting that on blast on getting it like out in the algorithm a little bit more in other social media venues, that kind of thing. I think that a little bit more awareness needs to be put out there. What they've done with skins and like streaming, like you don't have to just watch Ignite to be able to do that, but I've noticed a lot of people do tend to have those Twitch exclusive skins for some of the characters. Like what is it? Galacta's Will, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
is the name of a lot of those. So people are watching streams of Marvel Rivals and getting this stuff, but I wonder if maybe kind of making some of that exclusive to Ignite would kind of sweeten the pot, sweeten the deal a little bit, maybe bring a few more viewers in. You know, could be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this year they had kind of a branding problem with their esports, and I think they're going to have this going into 2026 as well. But we got the Ignite branding sort of later in the year. There was already the MRC stuff that's going on, which is like the in-game tournaments and all that. I feel like just some more clarity around the structures and who's competing where, I think would be a big thing for me. And then just having a really convenient place to be able to keep up with it all. Like I I want like a Marvel rival esports app where I can like see the games that are coming up and stuff like that. I want to be able to keep up with this esport the same way I keep up with like Major League Baseball and the NFL, where like there's a centralized place I know I can go to get information about the teams, the schedule, where to watch, and all that kind of thing. But I totally agree with you too, where it's like I wish that they would make some of the uh, cosmetics exclusive so that you don't just turn on random streamers and maybe get that stuff, but use it. I thought they really missed some opportunities this weekend to do some reveals about season 5 to get more people interested in like, oh, there's this event that's going on in esports, and tying the larger marketing of the game to the esports event. Those are things I hope to see more of in 2026.
Yeah, 100% agree.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us this week. Let us know your thoughts on the new skins. Sentinels leaving Marvel Rivals, the first season of Ignite, all those sorts of things. Let us know in the comments below. But before we go, Seth, what are you trying to accomplish in game this week?
I want to not end permanently, but I want to reach like that end point in my relationship with Marvel Zombies. I want to at least meet one or two of those goals there. I think I'm done with comp for this season since there's so little time left. I just want to kind of put some time in, grind through some of those events. I've got some catching up to do on some of those, like play 3 matches. I'm a few days behind on that, probably like 4 or 5 days. So definitely got to get on that before that event goes away and just kind of maximize the rewards that I can get. That's kind of my goal. Not a lot, but just kind of to spend a little bit more time with the game. Watching this weekend made me miss the game a lot, especially after not having a lot of time to play the week before. So I'm looking forward to jumping back in as soon as I can.
Cool. I am hoping to play some more Adam. I've been having some fun in the games where it's kind of working for me, so going to keep going with that. And then I'll try to climb a couple more tiers of zombies with you and unlock more of those name cards. So I think I have Undead Nightmare right now or something like that, and I need
It
the
sounds
others.
right.
But all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Good luck in your games. We love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.